So she calls me up and she's like, okay, how does it make you feel when the men shoot good? And what do you love most about teaching? And, you know, all this kind of shit. And we're going, what the fuck am I listening to right now, right? And I know her well. So I was like, and now I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, right? I want something like with a skull and a cobra and a goddamn dagger and some cool shit. And so me and her kind of get into it. We banter back and forth. And she's like, okay, you are obviously grumpy, right? So screw you kind of a thing. And I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And I get what she's trying to do, right? For a corporation, you need a mission statement, all that shit to design a proper logo, like Big Dick Tex Outdoors. That didn't just come out of his ass. I mean, did that come out of your ass?
Yeah.
Right. And so I give she's like, I'm going to call you back later, but think about the goddamn questions and have good answers for me, right? So I can design your proper logo. I said, just give me something fucking cool, right? Hang up. 20 minutes later, I get a text from her. I open it. It's a picture of the fucking tiger that I have.
You see a lot of faces every year.
Yeah.
So, and I don't see anybody else but these guys. So, and e-commerce, we don't actually have to talk
you get to hype
people. We don't have to fucking talk to people unless you're on the Big Tex Ordnance podcast. Now, thank you for joining us today. We're out here at Shooter Symposium 2022, and we've had an awesome day today. I got to hang out with the dudes from Sons of Liberty most of the day. Chris, actually, we're going to bring something up. Top shot at the B8 competitions yesterday.
Oh, snap.
Right?
97, I think.
Yeah, 97. It was slow fire, so I should have posted a friggin' 100, but oh well.
But
you suck.
But you rocked it out.
Was that
you
Blower
got it?
scoring, or what kind of scoring are we using here?
I always do Blower scoring because, like, don't suck.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I uncorked a 100 in front of the class today.
Nice.
There you
Yeah,
That's fucking awesome.
Look at that, fellas. That's normal for me.
That's awesome. And if you haven't figured it out, we've got the man himself, Bill Flowers.
Yeah.
All right. What
SWAT man.
What'd Chuck call him? Biceps?
Yeah, biceps.
Yeah. Chuck's got a lot of zingers. I have some too, but I won't say what I call him all the time.
You can, because he called you that on the podcast. Dude, so. But, dude, I know you've been out in the sun all day shooting 100s. Of course. But we really appreciate you
for sure, man.
Sitting down,
Happy
having a
to
beer with us and
good to go.
And talking about stuff. But for our viewers and our listeners out there that might not know you, that have been living with their head in the sand for a long time, can you give me the quick backstory?
Yeah. So was a cop for almost 26 years in Washington, retired almost 5 years ago now. Prior to that, I was in the Army for 6 years. I became a cop. Was something I always wanted to do. Got on the SWAT team pretty early. Spent the bulk of my career assigned to the SWAT team, and then firearms always an interest. So I became a firearms instructor pretty early and just progressed through. The teaching piece was interesting. I was doing obviously teaching for the organization, and then on the SWAT side, the tactics side of the house, the Washington State runs a statewide basic SWAT course that most guys get put through. So I ended up teaching there. That gave me exposure to dudes at the state level, and then from that, they're calling me, hey, can you come and do a class for our team on something different, that type of crap. And then as you get to the fringes of Washington, now you're into Idaho, Oregon, and it just kind of expanded. But the big break was primary and secondary for sure, and just putting videos out, and Matt just kind of helped me get my name sent out there a little bit. So leading up to my year that I retired, things just kind of really exploded for me. I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I'm doing and have met some guys that have absolutely done a lot to help me along, kind of a thing. So like I said, get to go around the country now and teach both citizens and cops alike, and see the country, so you meet a bunch of good, cool dudes and that kind of shit. But the symposium, it's been neat. Chris and me are friends, right? We met out at this joint, and so just meeting dudes. I think, hell, you were in the first class I ever taught out here, weren't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of cool to transition this thing from just dudes in a class, and now over time I've met a lot of friends too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat job I got right now, man. So like I said, very fortunate to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's nice to come out here every year, and I've been out here in one capacity or another 4 now out of the 5 years.
Yeah, and
see dudes that that you saw the first time, the second time, and now it's like, hey, dude, see you at Symposium,
Yeah.
And this is definitely an awesome event that Shocky's got organized and put on out here at a fantastic facility. I mean, I hear quite often that some of the facilities out here are the best, if not are really good, if not the best facilities that are open enrollment type areas in the country.
Yeah. It's a great range, man.
I mean, he could do something about the heat. And all his grass is dead. But I don't know if he knows that or not.
Well, that's a sore subject.
Yeah, don't talk about the grass, right? But it's definitely a great experience coming out here.
Yeah, I taught a class in San Jose, California, and he was in my class today. And it's kind of weird, right? I was like, yeah, dang, he's the commuting champion of this event. And then he's like, well, no, I actually moved out here last year. Then you didn't. And then the hero of the lunch last year that saved Ricky from dying on that chunk of beef. Logan.
Yeah, Logan.
Logan was in the class today. So I was like, oh, man, he's a real bona fide hero right here. He saved this guy's life last year with the Heimlich maneuvers. That's pretty funny. But, yeah.
That's fantastic. How many classes are you teaching a year now?
This year I'm on pace to do 58. I think I'm going to back off that a little bit for next year. I had a plan to retire after 5 years. This is probably because I'm an old man and, just whether I still be relevant and that kind of crap. So I wanted to put that in my head. And then as arbitrary, as I'm getting closer to that 5-year mark, I'm like, am I still capable of doing it? Is it still something I want to do, which is the other thing? And the answer to those is I think yes. I think I'm still capable of teaching classes, and it's still something I enjoy doing, but I think the pace is going to back off just a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably when I retired from law enforcement in that career, ended up missing a bunch of the kids' ball games and shit like that. So I was telling my wife, I'm retiring. I'm gonna go easy. I want to see the grandkids and do that stuff. And she's like, you're working more than you did when you were working, right? I'm like, yeah, good point. So back up. But part of it too, my grandkids are now getting older. My oldest grandson is 4, so he'll be starting the t-ball and soccer and all that kind of crap soon. I just want to make sure I see that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very important to get in on that when you can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the Big Tex Ordnance Parenting Podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do what we've done. Right. Yeah, that's I got 2 little ones as well. I got a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and it's always the fact that I work for this guy and with this guy lets me pick them up and drop them off every day. And that was one of the first things I told you when we talked about bringing me on. I was like, hey, dude, I'm Mr. Mom. Like, I'm the one that picks them up. I'm the one that drops them off. That's the thing. He's like, yeah, go for it. We'll do it. So I commend you for moving forward into that and backing off. But if anything, it's going to, and now this goes from parenting to business, it's just going to drive demand up for your classes.
Yeah,
I think so.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Who the hell knows?
Those guys that are signed up for, if you're selling out 58, you're going to be selling out 36 or whatever.
We will see.
Yeah.
We will see what happens with it, man.
Yeah. I wish you luck on that.
Well, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. What all are you teaching out here this
I did
time?
a pistol class today, 8-hour pistol class, and then tomorrow I have an 8-hour carbine alone, and then me and Chuck P are doing a joint pistol class on Sunday.
That's going to be fun.
We've kind of talked, and we have taught together in the past, so I think it'll be an easy thing, but we haven't exactly figured out what it is we're going to do on Sunday yet. But we'll do that tomorrow, I'm sure. Whatever, it'll be fine.
I need to get my cameraman out here one more day and go and have him record that and mic both of them.
Yes,
for the
definitely
whole
have them both mic'd up. I took when you and Chuck taught. Maybe it was the first symposium that you did. I don't know. It was sometime at symposium. Took a class with the 2 of y'all, and that was a really good class.
Right on. Thanks,
That
man.
was the second year.
Yeah, that was the second one.
That was when Chucky finally got all the ranges put together. And
Yeah, we
everything
actually
like that.
Yeah, all the ranges were up and running.
Weren't flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What specific classes do you? What's your focus typically on your curriculum?
You mean just in general or out here?
Well, I mean, both.
Okay, so I'm still teaching the bulk of the class I'm doing are law enforcement only stuff, and that has nothing to do with me. It's either the law enforcement range doesn't allow citizens to come in for liability reasons or whatever, and so there's the shooting portion for law enforcement, but then a lot of tactics classes. My team leader class is still pretty popular. I do some basic SWATs around the country. Hostage rescue is another class I teach that has gained some traction, and then but last year I did a couple of shotgun breaching classes, stuff like that. And then the rest of it's all gun based. I'm doing it's kind of flip flop. When I first retired, almost everything was SWAT tactics based stuff, and then a few gun classes. And I think the further I'm getting away from the SWAT job, it's kind of rotating, and I'm getting more requests for gun courses. some of that could also be, I think, that with citizens being allowed to come to a lot of classes and good ranges that are hosting me, I think it's just kind of driving that drive up more than some of the tactics-based classes.
Yeah.
And it could just be me, like I said, getting further away from the SWAT job and having not done that task in almost 5 years. There's other dudes that are teaching and obviously just as relevant, just as smart, just as good as I am at that shit. So I think dudes are looking for those kind of fellows at this point, but, whatever.
Because that's always evolving as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we had Kyle DeFore on the podcast here a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how he's had to change his standards, right? So his his hat standards and all that stuff due to the quality of students that he's getting and the technology now that's available. That everybody's running red dots.
Yeah.
Everybody's shooting way more rounds than they used to. Everybody's coming in, and now there's I can. You pick a weekend in Texas, and I can drive to a class.
Oh yeah.
And so the caliber of students has increased, and you're just going to continue seeing that on LE side and civilian side,
sure.
whether they're one driving the other or what.
Yeah. I mean, the people sign up for my class are definitely not slouches. I'm seeing some really competent shooters coming on the line, and I think some of it's technology, like you said. But the other there has been a boon in the training industry running around, and so I think that's another thing is guys are getting a lot of options, and like you said, any given weekend I can go to a class if I have the money to go do it, and so I think that's helping drive some of that too.
You can shoot a match every day in Houston if you want to. You can shoot a USPSA match or an IDPA match if you're willing to drive all over the Houston area, but you can shoot definitely every weekend. But almost every day of the week there's some club having a match now.
Oh, wow.
And that's phenomenal, as somebody who doesn't have the time to do that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. You do shield work as well, right? That's one of your
shield was another one. Yeah, that's another big class I'm teaching a lot. So yeah.
One thing I've never ever had any experience whatsoever doing is anything like that. I was in the military for almost 14 years. We didn't do that shit. We just run in or pull back and shoot it with a Bradley.
Yeah.
Did any shield work.
The shield stuff's pretty interesting. You mentioned the military, and I ended up doing a class for the 2nd Ranger Battalion where they wanted a shield class, and I thought, this is kind of a weird request, right? I mean, and so I talked to Sam. I was like, man, I don't know nothing about Ranger tactics, or I don't know how this fits in. It's a cop class, right? And he's like, well, what are you teaching? So I said, talk a little bit about shields and what you're looking to buy, and then we do some shield kung fu, stomp the shit out of each other with them, that kind of a thing, and then it's just shooting. And he's like, well, give us that. And I said, well, how much of that applies? He goes, we don't know, because we don't know shit about shield. So give us everything, and then we'll kind of figure out how it fits into the mission set. And there was a lot of subterranean, crap going on with tunnels and this and that. There ain't no natural cover to hide in a tunnel, so you got to bring the cover with you. And it's just interesting to see how the law enforcement and military kind of just, do this shit all the time. We'll overlap and then kind of go away and overlap and go away. And so it was pretty interesting to see those guys interested in that task. And I mean, I don't want to fight anybody in a tunnel. That would suck ass.
I'm good.
And so it kind of makes sense that they would be looking to do that. It was a pretty good time. Those motivated dudes. Yeah. The worst part about them is you get them in the shield kung fu part, and I was like, don't hurt each other, right? Everybody just go.
Calm down.
Calm down.
That did not happen. It did not happen. I was like, all right, man, you're on your own.
That's what they do.
Yeah. They break shit, and they were trying to break each other pretty good with those shields, so it was pretty funny to watch.
How much does one of those things weigh typically?
It depends what threat level you're getting with technology now, which has been the great boon of GWAT. Is so much good technology coming out. But a 3A shield typically is about 16 pounds, 17 pounds, something like that. So I mean, really nothing with a good light source on it. A level 3 shield somewhere in the 23 to 27 pound range, and then as you go higher than that, 3 pluses where they're plussing it up for M855 or special threats, you're going to add roughly 10 pounds, and then if you go to level 4, you're in the 70 pound range, depending on how big it is and if it's on wheels and that kind of shit. So.
Okay. 70-pound shield on wheels.
Yeah,
that's that medieval shit coming back. We were talking about the carry handle optics and 193s yesterday when we were talking about Chuck, but that's a total different loop progression with everything coming back. Now we got shields on wall, shields on wheels like they had in medieval times. That's nuts.
Yeah, Tier Tactical is making 2 shields go on a dolly system. So if you want to break them off and then go clear them, put it back on and then shove it ahead of you, break them off, go do a thing, put it back on the dolly. I mean, it's kind of cool to see it happening. And responding to what the need is, I guess.
So you started law enforcement mid 80s?
No, 92.
92.
Yeah.
Okay. So you saw the whole progression of, pre-Columbine
Oh yeah.
tactics to after that
Yeah.
to global war on terror. What do you think the biggest? We can sit here and think about it if you need to. What do you think the biggest change in your career has been?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Columbine. That was clearly an eye-opener, right? Where for those type of incidents, they're just surround it kind of thing, and then waiting for SWAT to show up. That obviously had to change based on that incident. And so I think that the training progression that came along with it. I mean, I'm very early adopters of active shooter response. The year after Columbine, we were doing in-service training for the whole organization to get guys spooled up. But even then, like some of the tactics that were being employed, the diamond formations, T formations, and stuff like that. Make sure you wait for 4 guys, blah, blah, blah. And then over time, the progression of that, where we went from you don't go without 5 dudes. You need a guy to stay outside to direct the next cops coming in of where you went and that type of thing. And now at the end of my career, we're solo officer response, and that's kind of the expectation. You're going to jump in on this thing and go do what you need to do. Now that's the training, right? The sad part, of course, is recent incidents where that did not occur, and so you maybe focusing on the task versus the mindset is a shift that needs to change, maybe to some degree. So that was a huge thing. I mean, there's clearly the biggest impact in law enforcement was, the Summer of Love stuff. And I think that changed a lot of stuff around the country. Even very conservative states like Texas are reeling and feeling the effects of George Floyd and some of the stuff that has happened with no-knock warrant service and other things, even though it might still be legal in the state of Texas. I know a lot of agencies are not allowing that anymore, or the DAs are prohibiting it because they won't accept cases now, or the evidence that come from no-knock. So, I mean, it's just been a lot of that kind of stuff. Man, it's this is a tricky subject here. On the one hand, I took an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States twice, both as an Army dude and then as a police officer, and I took that oath serious. So you look at some of those things, right? And that there are some absolute issues here with constitutional rights and whether or not should the government be allowed to kick your door in without letting you know they're coming, and that's an argument for another day type of shit. But on the other hand, some of that stuff you keep giving it back, and then where do you sit as a society with laws that aren't being enforced, right? And we are a society of laws, and so they have to be enforced in some way, shape, or form. Now, this isn't a direct correlation to whether no-knock should be allowed or not. That's not the point. We keep giving stuff up, and it just makes me wonder where we're going to be in a few years. Does that make sense? I mean, shit, 5 years ago, if you'd have told me I'd be watching news clips of police chiefs and police commanders and cops getting on their knees in front of police stations to appease a riot, I would have said you're full of shit. That will never happen in America. If you'd have told me that police chiefs would make the decision to give a mob a police precinct, I would have said there's no goddamn way. But yet we watched it happen for real. And so I think that is the biggest thing in my career that was interesting. And maybe to some degree sad to see happen. And how do we recover from that? And the answer is I don't know. I'm not sure how it's going to go. That.
Yeah, that's a fluid situation for sure.
For sure.
Every day that's always changing, and you see different tactics being employed. Where they're we're not no-knocking, so we're going to grab them at the gas station, or we're going to do this, and I don't know. You saw the video last week that was circulating on social media. SWAT dudes are waiting in the van at the gas station. The dude walks out
him at the gas station.
Yeah, and he took off running. They sent the dog after him. Dog tackles him.
Yeah,
he pulls out to
the gun,
pop the dog, and they
get
him right there. And so, I mean, there's different options and different risk to all that.
Right.
There's going to be if you're a good guy going after bad people, there are going to be risk no matter where you're taking after that bad people, because they don't fucking care.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're predisposed to have a shootout, you're going to have a shootout. It doesn't really matter where it's at. So the gas station, when I know the incident you're talking about, and I don't know what, I mean, it could have been a lot of factors that made him want to take that guy in that spot. And maybe it has something to do with, no ability to serve the warrant, or they think they don't have the ability without knocking. but that puts the public more at risk. Right now, instead of doing it at his house, we're doing it in the parking lot of a goddamn gas station, and who's in the gas station pumping gas when that goes down, and what could have happened as a result of all that, right? So, I mean, there is no free lunch to any of this shit, and I don't know what the solution is. I mean, it's
bad guys to quit doing bad
well,
shit.
that'd be real nice, right? If they would stop that stuff, it would be really, really nifty. But you wonder, right? Like an incident like that, if shots being fired in all directions, if we end up with a couple citizens getting killed as a result, what's the opposition going to say then? Now, right? Don't do that either. Well, then, what do you do? Type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's just that part's. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right word is for it, but it's definitely a big change from when I started in '92. I mean, it just is. A lot of the cop classes now, because I'm old as shit and I'm getting mainly young guys coming to classes, but just as a general thing, I'll say, who here has never beat a motherfucker with a nightstick? Right? And no hands are going up. Right? No one's done that shit anymore, but that was pretty commonplace in '92 when I started, because we didn't have taser. I mean, some agencies, the sergeant carried OC, but nobody else had it, so you fisticuffs and the old school stick. And obviously those things went away with, Rodney King, which is when I started working and some of that stuff, so... it's just interesting to watch how the thing changes.
Everything changes.
Yeah. Have you seen the Sweet Bolo rap? Have you seen the Bolo rap?
I think so. I've probably figured it out. What you're
so it's a gun like a taser.
Oh,
right?
yes.
And you shoot the Bolo wrap at the fleeing criminal, which wraps him up in like Spider-Man's web, and then he goes down. And you can take him into custody. The problem is that you shoot the dude. I walked right out of it. I got shot with the thing. I just kept on walking. All the shit fell off me. I'm still going. So I was kind of silly, really. But it's a piece of technology that was built to appease some of the other shit. Right? Don't use force. Hit him with the Spider-Man net. But A, it don't work, and then B, even if you Spider-Man net his ass and he's got a gun, he can shoot through the Spider-Man net, right? And so it's just sometimes you like, what are you guys? What's going on right now? So
somebody that's never been hit in the mouth thought that up.
Probably.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone's got a plan until they get hit in the face.
Yeah.
The advent of night vision coming into law enforcement, which some people freaking hate, right? Why are you guys using military crap? Well, I'm obviously trying to use it as a safety advantage. So that coming in is an interesting thing. And then watching body cameras, everybody's using them now. And then now police departments you will wear a body camera all of the time. But teams are using night vision. The body cameras may or may not pick up that night vision, the IR spectrum. Oh, yeah. So now they're recording, and the law said you must record your action. We did record it, but all you can see is a black damn screen. And so now they're prohibiting the use of NVG because you can't see what they're doing. So then the next solution is we got to buy IR-based cameras that can see the environment when we're under night vision. It's just weird how this whole thing, goes around in circles like you were talking about. It's just wild shit to me.
Always evolving.
Yeah, I guess.
And that
sometimes for the good, sometimes not. So much.
Sometimes regressing.
Yeah, sometimes regressing. Yeah, definitely. I've got a buddy with a very not affluent, but a very well-funded police department here in Texas, and they have a drone vehicle, a drone patrol car on every shift, and they use them all the time.
Yeah.
They send drones into buildings, he's like, I can name multiple instances where the drones have saved either the officers' lives or the dude sitting in the back yard with a shotgun's life, because they sent the drone back there and be like, hey, we see you, we see what you're doing. Put the gun down.
Yeah, same thing. We were early adopters of drones, man. As soon as it became legal in Washington, we were on that game, and they were fantastic. Ever evolving. Now bad guys are buying the cheapy Amazon drone, and they are running up counter drones they're trying to flying them into the cop drone to make them crash. Does that make sense?
Well, kamikaze drones.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost predict that was going to happen, right? As technology gets cheaper, they either steal them or it's cheap enough they can buy them, and they don't give a crap. It's a cheap shit Radio Shack drone. It's doing its purpose, which is going up, try to crash. It's another dogfight, right? Both dudes are trying to fly their drones around without crashing. It's just crazy shit.
And then you look at what they're doing in Ukraine with the drones.
Yeah.
I won't even go into those possibilities, right? And what branch? You were in the Army. What was your job?
I was a 19 Delta. I was a scout.
Okay.
Was that you?
No, infantry.
I heard you say Bradley's earlier, so I was thinking, is he a scout?
Mechanized.
Yeah.
Mechanized.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, I watch videos from Ukraine, and I'm just like, God, thank God I'm not. I get cringe every time I see a vehicle blow up like that, because I've been there, done that, and
not good.
Now they're just dropping a grenade from 500 feet up through a freaking hatch on a BMP, and you're like, okay, things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Going back to the 90s, like what weapons were y'all fielding? As,
When I got hired as a cop, I got issued a 357, and so that's what they had, and that's what I initially got. I was like, I don't think I want this type of thing, and I was not a handgun shooter as a kid or any of that kind of stuff. So I got that, and then another cop, excuse me, in the organization I was in, I retired from I worked for 2 PDs. Started with a small PD, moved to a bigger one. But a guy that worked there, he had just bought a new SIG, and so he had bought all the holster and all that crap. And he had a Ruger P85, right? And he's like, hey, I'll sell you this and the belt. And instead of carrying that revolver around, broke as shit. I just come out of the Army. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. We had 2 kids. And so I was like, well, how much for the whole goddamn shit? And he was like, $200. So the gun, all the magazines, belt, the whole shit, because the PD wasn't buying us anything. So my first pistol was a P85. And I remember going up to the agency I work for, and I hey, I'm a cop currently, right? I'm testing here to come to this new agency, but I am carrying a gun right now. And the dude I was riding, he was, what do you got? I said, a P85, and he started laughing, right? And I remember thinking, is that bad? I mean, what's going on? So that's how dumb I was on the handgun stuff. That first agency was wild, and I don't know if the nomenclature's right. Is it the HK91 with the long ass barrel? It's the single shot MP5. You know what I'm talking about? Is it 91, 92? You know, Chris, what I'm talking about? It looked just like an MP5, but the barrel was it was a long skinny pencil barrel.
Yeah.
That was
From,
our
like,
car
the old-
carbine.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't know why they selected that expensive ass 9mm shooting rifle, but that's what it was. And then when I went to the new agency, got issued a SIG. We were issuing SIG Classics, and then and had shotguns in the cars initially. And then that transition around '98, we put ARs, replaced all the shotguns. So we were pretty early adopters with ARs. And then we're shooting them iron sights. Hey, we want optics on them. Boss like, we ain't got no money. I remember a deputy chief came out. He had to qualify. We had gotten 2 Trijicon ACOGs as T&E. And so he shot one of those guns and scored really high. And he goes, man, these things are great compared to what he normally shot. And he goes, how much is it to put them all on the guns? We're like $50,000. And all of a sudden they just shit the money for that crap. And I think it's only because that numbnut came out and qualified with him. So that's what they got. And when I retired, each cop in my agency now is being issued SIG M&P, or SIG M&P for Christ's sake, Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, and they're all issued an 11.5-inch commando with a suppressor, aim-point T2 on it and stuff like that. So the program definitely progressed a lot as we went along. The suppressors were issued to everybody because we ended up hurting 2 dudes with guns went off next to their ears and messed them up. I think one guy had to medically retire. The other guy's eardrum was blown out, but he was able to keep his job. And the boss at that point were like, this is ridiculous. We got to do something. And the solution was cans on every gun.
That's fantastic that there's more agencies, and we talked about last week with Eric from Norma about how the Marines of all people have went to every rifleman's getting a suppressor.
That's
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fantastic that they're moving to that, and I definitely have lost some hearing due to gunfire in close proximities when it was not expected.
Yeah. The progression on the SWAT side, when I came on SWAT, everything was a dynamic warrant service. Everything, right? We just hut into the house, and so there was a progression of tactics, just trying to be smarter, not use the same thing. And there was resistance to that initially. Guys were like, "Oh, this is sissy stuff, and why are we doing this crap?" And then it's funny over time now that is the norm. And now if you even think about doing something dynamically, that's the big no-no, right? And I think anytime you start taking tactical options away from guys, it's a bad idea. It should just be a thing that you're capable of doing, type of stuff. So I guess tactics, maybe some public outcry stuff. Obviously, some bad incidents have occurred around the country, and then those tend to drive stuff, some tactics and some of the stuff as well, because bosses are liability averse versus being, managing the risk of a job where you're carrying a gun, for Christ's sakes. I mean, sometimes things are going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we see that every day when on YouTube and Instagram, the difference in tactics and difference in what agencies are allowing to be done, and the difference in we had the conversation the other day at lunch. I mean, like, if you were working for a department that might not be paying, I mean, what would you do for $36,000 a year? I mean, honestly, in some
that's
instances,
high pay for some places.
yeah, that's really high pay for some places,
Yeah.
and that falls into that whole decision making process.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're definitely not, and then they get recruited by higher paying agencies. You lose your officers because they qualify for somebody else, and they're out quick, fast, and in a hurry for a higher paying job somewhere else.
Yep. People at the time that I retired, it was George Floyd time, and there's a lot of people that speculate I quit law enforcement because of all the change that was coming, this and then just being sick, and that was not. It was just time for me to retire. I loved the career, man. I thought it was a great job, and enjoyed the hell out of it the entire time I was doing it. It was none of those things. It was just I mean, like I said, almost 26 years out, and I thought if I'm going to do this training thing, I need to get out now and give it a lick and see what happens to it. So I enjoyed the work, man. I do think sometimes, I'm going to sound like a cop, apologetic guy for cops type of thing, and that is not the case. Poor performance is poor performance. But I do think a viral video is more likely to happen off of really, really shitty performance of a cop versus when a cop does something really goddamn good.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Because then it's just, people want to see that fuck up. It's like a blooper reel, for Christ's sakes, versus the good work that a lot of cops are doing all the damn time. And no one cares about those good things. Well, the Tacoma guy just shot that dude 183 yards, and that's one that went viral, and people are like, goddamn, watch this cool cat do his shit.
Good fucking service.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat.
Country music bumping, got his coffee. I was like, when it started playing, I was like, oh,
here we go.
this is going to be good. Was that, I backed that up? Oh.
But I only think that one went viral because the distance was so unusual. Does that make sense? If he'd have shot the guy at 8 yards, we probably would have never seen any of that video, because who cares?
Yeah.
Was that Starbucks or was that a spitter? I couldn't tell.
Per policy, it was a Starbucks.
It was no tobacco use in government vehicles. Come on. What, there are no cigarette butts in the back of this Bradley.
That was a big change. Shotgun in my rack. I remember coming into work and we had pool cars, and so I'd go check my car out. Obviously, I'm going to check the shotgun, so I'd check its status, and every single time I pull out of the rack, tip it upside down, and cigarette butts would fall out of the barrel of that sumbitch. Dude's been using that thing as an ashtray, man. Which now very few cops smoke anymore. So,
even when I first started in the training community, there would usually be a huddle of 5 or 10 dudes at the back of the line every time you get a chance. Smoking them, you don't see that much anymore.
I always thought it'd be funny, right? Not check it and then hit a dude with a load of buckshot, but also cigarette butts is like insult to injury.
Cancer in
ashes go everywhere. Yeah. And the cool part, and we'll talk about this a little bit on change. And I've seen it out here. I was talking to and I'm going to stay straight up. I was talking to a kid out here in the tent today. And he's like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah. I'm with such and such department." I was like, I couldn't. That dude. I mean, the SWAT team guys from last week out at TTPOA. Some of those dudes didn't look like they were much out of high school, yet alone on a SWAT
your mom
team.
know you're here?
Yeah. Did you get a look? Did your mom know?
Did you get a voucher?
Yeah. Did you get a voucher? Oh. Hey, Jared. Sorry, we're going there. Are you open on Sunday? What time is your class on Sunday? You got Sunday day, 9 a.m.?
We're not leaving until Monday, so whatever, anytime. Let me know.
You got night class tomorrow or day class tomorrow?
Day class.
Day class?
We might do tomorrow evening.
Tomorrow evening. I'll see what I can do.
Oh, you're leaving.
Oh, if we do it early, I can.
Okay.
Yeah. If we do it early, we can. All right. Thanks, Jared.
Now, back to your
The beauty of editing, I can just cut that out, or I can leave it in there. Our viewers love that stuff. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about Kerry Davis's feet?
They're massive. He's like a goddamn hobbit, man. I'm telling you. Wow.
Frodo Baggins over there.
Oh, is he still sitting over there? Is he mad? Is he coming? That's one of the
It's
cool.
bourbon o'clock, man. He's outside.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about this event, is being able to hang out with dudes that you might not cross paths with, or good dudes in the training industry, and sit here and enjoy a beer and a conversation about some serious stuff that we're talking about. So let's lighten that convo up a little bit. What do you enjoy about teaching the most?
Forgetting me with that kind of stuff, man.
Yeah.
He enjoys walking around with a tactical nuclear tiger patch and not
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
it to anybody.
What's the? How many people have got that so far?
So a dude has taken one in a carbine class, but he was a former teammate. It was a year after I retired. A guy came to the class, and so a lot of the drills and stuff were obviously developed on my own teammates, and so he had shot those things quite a bit. I mean, so and he can clearly shoot well. So he took one for that. I've given initially the night vision stuff. It was the standard was tough, but it wasn't the same setup as some of the other classes where you're required to pass 4 standards. And so I think I've given away 2 or 3 in the night vision schools, but that's changed now, and I haven't given away any since I changed. Kind of like you're talking with the 4. I think it was just the caliber of student has gone up. And then I initially, this whole philosophy of training shit, right? So the history of that shit is I post up on Facebook. I'm not a very artsy, creative fella. And so my logo is gay as hell. Can I say gay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't care.
Yeah.
It's happy.
Yeah, right.
It's happy.
So the logo is pretty lame. I put up on Facebook, hey, man, if any of you jokers are good at the art stuff and you want to design me a logo, if I pick your shit, then I will send you the T-shirt, the hat, the hoodie, the coffee cup, and all the bullshit with the logo on it for free $99 for your work. And so, here's the weird thing too about social media. So I said, I always say was if you want to do it, right, I would appreciate it, and here's how we'll repay you with this shit. And so some dudes start tagging dudes who are actual graphic design fellas, and they respond there, man, fuck you, man. Do you work for free? I didn't ask you for free anything, dude. I just was asking if somebody wanted to do it. Anyway, I got one submission, which is this logo, right? This weird looking T here is a buddy of mine up in Washington. So I said, all right, well, that's the only submission. That's the winner, right? So I'm doing my shit. So I posted, here's the new logo. A gal I worked with, she had injured her knee and she was doing forensic art. Like, here's the skull. She will draw you the face that goes with that skull based on what it looks like. And also photo montage stuff, or not photo montage, but suspect drawings, right? So you describe the dude, and she would draw the dude you described, and does this look like the guy that raped you kind of thing. Well, she medically retired. She's still doing that stuff. She's written a couple books, really talented lady. And so she sees my post and gets a hold of me. She said, hey, if you've already bought a bunch of T-shirts and shit, that's a really cool logo. But if you haven't, that's the dumbest goddamn thing I've ever seen. Right? And so I'm like, okay. And she goes, well, I'm doing corporate logos now as part of the art package and part of the business. If you want, I will design a free logo for you. But if you let me put it in the portfolio as a company I've designed a logo for. And I was like, well, the answer is yes. Right? Yeah. Easy day on that. So she says, okay, I'll call you. So she calls me up and she's like, okay, how does it make you feel when the men shoot good? And what do you love most about teaching? And, all this kind of shit. And we're going, what the fuck am I listening to right now, right? And I know her well. So I was like, and now I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, right? I want something like with a skull and a cobra and a goddamn dagger and some cool shit. And so me and her kind of get into it. We banter back and forth. And she's like, okay, you are obviously grumpy, right? So screw you kind of thing. And I'm like, what the fuck, and I get what she's trying to do, right? For a corporation, you need a mission statement, all that shit to design a proper logo, like Big Dick Tex Outdoors. That didn't just come out of his ass. I mean, did that come out of your ass?
Yeah.
Right. And so I give she's like, I'm going to call you back later, but think about the goddamn questions and have good answers for me, right? So I can design your proper logo. I said, just give me something fucking cool, right? Hang up. 20 minutes later, I get a text from her. I open it. It's a picture of the fucking tiger that I have with 2 tomahawks crossed and a nuclear cloud behind it, right? And so I wrote back. I said, you fucking nailed it. If you put a grenade in that motherfucker's mouth and some night vision on him, we're in business. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I said, no, I'm not kidding. That's super awesome. And so she fucking did it. Now, she pulled the helmet and night vision off the internet, and she sent it back, and I said, that's it. It's perfect. I love it, right? So I'm sending this to print right now. She said, well, don't do it. That helmet and nods, I stole that image off the internet for this. I need to do my own work so I don't get jammed up. And she said, hey, just take a picture of your helmet and NVGs and send me the photo, and I'll hand draw that on the tiger. And so the tiger is wearing the helmet and NVGs I used for work before I retired, and that's what he's fucking wearing. But anyway, that's the history of that shit. So my answer is about how does it make me feel when the men shoot good? I feel great about it. How about
like
that?
a nuclear kitty.
I always wondered, what?
That's a good story. I always wondered what the back.
You never heard that one before?
No.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's
I just knew it was
that's where
badass.
that dumbass shit came from. And then the nuclear cloud was the OG thing. And then she said, I don't know how this is going to work, with art and with if you're going to make patches and stickers and all that kind of shit. So she sent me, I said, well, how about an explosive breach going off behind his head? So she sent me that file as well. So the stickers I hand out, there's the explosive breach, but the nuke cloud shit is only for guys that win the patch. Yeah, man, that's just what it is.
That's cool.
So there's
and
that.
You haven't handed out very many of them.
Not very many of them. So I was thinking, I don't shoot that good. I'm going to be handing these some bitches out like candy right at Halloween. So I bought initially 400 patches thinking I was going to, every class, I'd be like wheeling these things out there. And then that wasn't happening. And so I started doing shit where if I went to a team and like did hostage rescue training or a shield class or something, and then something bitching happened, that I started sending entire teams the patches if I had trained them in hostage rescue, and then they did a successful hostage rescue.
Oh, yeah.
Sent that shit out. So, you know, that type of shit. And then it's just, you know, some of it's just some cool shit going on. I sent one to I don't know if you guys remember this. Safariland sent me a couple of different shields. They had a proprietary backing that they were putting on the shields, and I don't know if I can. They had another thing that they wanted me to look at and evaluate and do some stuff with, and so this new backing material, super thin and shit. My first thought was, I don't know how that's going to work for backface deformation. When you start getting rounds impacting shields, and my arm sitting on that thing, what's that going to feel like? So I called the engineer and I said, hey, you're Safariland. I'm sure you've done the testing. You know, it's passed all of my testing. So like full power, you know, strikes on dummies with it and shit like that. It's good to go, but this would be my only concern, you know, but I'm sure you've done the testing. And so the engineer says, well, if you want to, man, you can go shoot it, right? You can go shoot it to destructive testing and kind of see what it does. And I said, if I do that, it'll be anecdotal. I have no way to measure it and, you know, all the stuff required. I said, rather than destroy it, how about if I give it away? And he's like, yeah, sure, man, go ahead and give it the fuck away, right? We don't care. And I was like, sweet. So I put out a Facebook post of me running a drill holding a shield. And I said, the guy that shoots this drill the fastest with a perfect score is going to win this shield. Man, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good incentive. And I didn't put any, you could shoot as many times as you wanted to. I didn't give a shit, right? So do your crap. So there was a dude, he's an Oregon State trooper. I remember very quickly, I think I gave him 30 days to submit fucking videos. So he puts one in there pretty quick, and it's fast. I mean, he blazed this thing. And I was like, ooh, boy, that's going to be a tough one to beat. Well, now guys have a benchmark. So if you consider this thing is probably $5,000, $7,000 shield, I mean, what's the cost of some ammunition, particularly if the government's cheese, right? I'm going to go shoot the hell out of this thing, and I might just luck this sucker up, right? So dudes start posting faster and faster times, and then I could tell that guys were hitting me with messages, hey, man, I just did it in 6.19. Has anybody got that yet? And I'm like, what's on the post was on the post, man. I'm going to hold that sumbitch till 23:59 hours on the last day and then post it so it's in under the time frame, and then nobody can come back and jump me. It didn't matter. This Oregon trooper won that shield, super fast time. And it was so funny, man. Guys were doing it. Like a guy made a 3D printout contraption that would hook to the side of the shield, and it would hold a magazine upright, so he would shoot it, slap his gun on the magazine for the reload part. He's thinking big text, right? That's something we got to develop,
right?
And he was slapping the gun, and he ended up losing, so he spent all that time making this 3D shit, which I thought was hilarious. But anyway, I sent it to the trooper. He's like, hey, man, thanks. Super cool, neato, kind of a deal. And he is on a SWAT team, and they end up with a hostage situation in a vehicle. The guy says he's got a bomb in there. There's some information that leads him to believe the bomb is legit. He's got his girlfriend with him, and he's also armed with a handgun. And so they decided at a certain point that he is about to either initiate this bomb or kill the girl. So snipers shoot him, but he's not down. That initiates the assault. And this guy carried that shield up there and shot the fuck out of that dude holding the shield that he won. So I thought, man, perfect guy to win that damn shield. Was pretty neat. So I sent him a tiger patch as well.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's
That's
awesome.
a pretty good reason
You
to get a
sent
patch.
2 patches to those dudes in Vegas, if I think right.
Yep. So no, it was Phoenix. So
Phoenix,
the two
okay,
dudes
Phoenix.
that they rolled up, and the one bad guy had the baby, and they shoot him. He's like, you know, hold, and he's like, fuck that, get the kid. You remember that incident?
Yeah.
Those
Zip that
dudes are actually
motherfucker,
pretty cool, funny guys, man. They sent me pictures holding them on a sniper hide after that. They're like, yeah, I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember the picture because the one dude had it like straight up and down. The other dude had it upside down
Exactly.
and shit.
Exactly. Harris County here in Texas got him. Chuck and I did a hostage rescue class for those guys, and then they had a legit multiple explosive breach, killed the bad guy, saved the hostage. So I sent those guys all one. There's been a couple teams around the country now that the whole team has gotten patches for crushing shit like that. So
It's fantastic.
yeah, kind of neat.
Yeah, kind of bitching.
Yeah,
That is kind of cool.
Yeah. So, you know, to back to your question, all these goddamn stories getting there. I mean, the thing I like best about teaching men is I'm hoping I'm providing a value. Dudes are paying their own money, which is, I mean, that's a huge, to me, leap of faith that they're hoping I'm going to give them a good day's training. And then, of course, their irreplaceable time, man. We were talking about kids and family and all the shit that's super important to guys, and they're taking their time to come to a class. So, I mean, I try to take it serious. I'm constantly trying to evolve the program. I mean, there's obviously components that stay the same, but I'm always trying new drills out. Tomorrow in the carbine class, this will be the 4th time that I'm testing a new thing that I've been doing, and I think it's been pretty successful. So, I mean, just shit like that. And I mean, I'm hoping I'm giving guys a perspective that makes them think about some stuff, and just be better shooters, man. I think you're kind of a moron if you think you're the only guy that knows something about the thing. And so the other thing I think, which is good, is meeting friends, and we've been talking about that shit, right? So, I mean, I tell guys, like, man, go to Scott's class, go to fucking Callan's class, go to this guy's class, and hear their perspectives on stuff that might be different than mine. But then the other thing is the way they say the same thing I'm trying to say might be something that resonates with you the way they say it versus how I said it. So I think the community part is great. I mean, it's just like I said, there's so many opportunities to meet dudes, and like I said, Chris is a fucking friend now. He's not just a dude I know from class, and I think that's been pretty damn awesome too. Does that sound shitty? Like I don't really care about teaching people stuff, or does that sound all right?
I think that sounds all right.
Right.
I think
that's good.
I think that's about all you can ask for.
All right. Yeah. So I'm in that. I do like it when I get, I mean, it's always nice to get the affirmation stuff. On the night vision side, I've been doing the LA. I got a text message yesterday when I was in Plano, working with those guys with NVG, and a buddy of mine back at home. And he just said, hey, man, we had an OAS last night, completely under NVG, and the team won and the bad guy's dead. So thanks for the help. And, I mean, you get shit like that.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you be happy about what you're doing, right? I mean, that's pretty cool shit to hear.
That's all you can ask for when you're out there training.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the biggest compliment, right? That's what you taught me helped us, man. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. So what you got planned for the future?
You mean like 80 years from what do you mean?
No, like so you're going back off a little bit next year?
I think so. I mean, I say that, but this business is weird too, right? So if I said I only want to do 35 classes, so if I only put 35 on the calendar, some of them aren't going to go. I mean, they're just either not enough guys will sign up. Unbeknownst to me and the host, that's the start of elk season. We picked that date, and the world was like thinking about shit, and now guys ain't wanting to come to that thing and whatever. So it's hard to not stack up the calendar knowing that some of the classes just aren't going to happen. But then when you wedge it in there, right, expecting some and they don't, that's what becomes problematic. So I just had 2 weeks off, but prior to that, it was 6 weeks in a row where I was literally flying out, teaching the class. I would fly home, wash my ass, clean my guns, repack them, and fly out the next day. And I did that for 6 weeks straight. And that part kind of gets old, I'll be honest with you.
Save time if you didn't clean your guns.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Or your ass.
Yeah.
So I like teaching. I like me. None of those classes. I never felt like, oh God, not this again. Waking up. I'm always jazzed up to go teach. And once I get on the range or get whatever we're doing, I kind of get into a groove, and I'm digging what I'm doing. But commuting on an airplane sucks ass. Living in a hotel sucks ass. Trying to find decent food to eat in a town you don't know shit all about. I mean, all of that stuff gets difficult sometimes, and it just kind of makes you. I don't know what the right word is. That part of this life kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're working with Walther?
Yeah, so a while ago, Brett Voorhees, I met him at TTPOA's conference. And I remember I was teaching, I was doing a shield class for TTPOA, and I got there to go through the vendor booth and shows and all that kind of horse shit. And so I'm kind of walking around checking out all the cool stuff the vendors have out. And I'm seeing like, I think you guys had a booth there, right? Massive. It's got dancing girls and kegs of beer and all kind of cool shit happening. Sons of Liberty, a massive booth and all that. And I'm walking along, and poor Brett got a table like the size of this thing with his bed sheet was the tablecloth, and he has 3 guns sitting on it. And I go, man, how bad does Walther hate you, dude? Right? That's how I met him. And so anyway, talking to him, and he was trying to convince me to go to PPQ for a long time. I ain't doing it. I was shooting Glocks. And the PPQ shoot grave, my big thing was I can go to 7-Eleven and buy a guide rod spring for a Glock. I can go to anywhere and get a million different holster choices. Yeah. It wasn't there for the Walther, so I was like, dude, I'm not going to change because and Glocks are prevalent in law enforcement, which is another thing. And so fast forward, I'm maintaining contact with Brett. I'm seeing him at different shows and different stuff. And he gets home. He says, "Hey man, I'm coming up to Washington. I want to show you this new gun." And I remember telling him on the phone, I'm not switching. Right, I'm just not going to do that. He goes, cool, whatever. Just come shoot this thing. I'll be at this range. So I went up there, and he showed me the Q5 steel frame. And I remember holding it, thinking, holy shit, this thing feels good in the hand. And it was only a 15-yard indoor range, so I went and shot it. But I remember I put 8 rounds out of 10 in the same damn hole at 15 yards. And I was like, what the shit? And then I'm doing some speed work with it, some other stuff. We go to lunch, whatever, the high five, and off he goes. It's going to be debuted at SHOT. This is October. It's going to be debuted that January. So I keep thinking about it. I got my older one, and I say, hey, man, if I can get an early version of that thing. I think I want to explore it and see what's up with it. So right after it came out, I bought my first one and then was shooting it, loving the hell out of it, and starting to post about it. And then the Defense Division stuff popped off, and they were like, do you want to do some shit with the Defense Division? I said, what do I got to do? They said, you got to shoot the gun. I don't want to fucking shoot the gun. So that's pretty damn easy, right?
Yeah.
The other thing was the team I thought was pretty cool. Obviously, Scott Jedlinski's in that. Wealth of Knowledge, really good dude. Jim Dexter, now Nick Young. I mean, there's just some Bill Rapier was another guy that came on late in the game, Solid Cats. And I just kind of felt like they were doing some cool shit, man. Walther would do still. I mean, I went down there. He never posted nothing, man. Colin Noir.
Oh,
I did a close, but Walther paid me to come down. I was going to do a 2-day class for law enforcement for free. I didn't get paid. Walther just paid to get me there. So this is Walther donated all the ammunition, paid to get me there. I'm not collecting tuition. It was kind of a cool thing for LE in the area. And with that, Colin showed up. I'm going to do a 1-day class with him. I mean, this class was bitching. This thing was, over the top cool, right? I mean, I was doing all barrel rolls and all kind of cool stuff. He didn't post one goddamn thing about me. You believe that shit? I mean, you guys don't care anyway.
No, you know what? I've done some really cool shit and taken some really cool pictures and got some really cool video and came home and it was out of focus. And I was like, well, there goes that article.
Could have been that.
Well, fuck.
yeah, that's Symposium.
That was Symposium, yeah.
A couple years ago.
My first year out here with Recoil Magazine. I came out here, interviewed a whole bunch of people. I might have talked to you. I talked to a bunch of people. Got pictures, everything.
Nothing.
Got home, all my everything was just out of focus. I was like, well,
that's a whole
there goes a whole fucking day.
Yeah. I think the other cool thing with Brett, when Brett was still there, Cody Osborne was still there. They're both now have since jumped ship and they're working for Taurus. And I think Scott, a couple of us went down there, and then I'm going to get in trouble. I don't remember, Gunther, whatever the hell, this German dude, the big man from Germany had flown in, and we're all going to meet at the big table and talk about the new PDP that's coming out. And it was pretty much designed, but there was like last minute, any tweaks need to get done and that type of shit. And so they're going around the table doing intros, right? And it's, I'm Gunther, I'm the fucking CEO from Germany, and I have a PhD in guns or some shit, right? And they're banging around. The dude that was the ergonomic designer of the F-22 Raptor cockpit introduces himself. And then this sumbitch over here is some kind of space astronaut scientist or some shit. And it's just like, what the fuck? He gets to me, I'm a cop.
I shoot better.
I'm clearly outclassed at this table. But it was the cool thing for me was that, I mean, they brought in a lot of different people from a lot of walks of life because they were trying to figure out what is the best way to build this gun and make it be what they want it to be. And I thought that was really interesting to see that they were putting that much effort into it. So, I mean, for all those reasons, man, good people involved with that company and the Defense Division, and it looked like they were striving real hard to make a decent handgun. So I thought I definitely want to be associated with people that care like that, right? They're trying to make it. Now, whether you like the PDP is regardless. I'm just telling you flat out that they're trying real hard to make the best goddamn gun they can, which is cool.
Just not just changing the number on the slide.
Yeah. I remember I was still working, and through PNS and some video, Surefire got a hold of me and said, do you want to do a Field Notes episode?
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'd like to do that shit. And so I met can I say his name?
Who, Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I met Andrew Wright for the first time, and he and I are friends now, good dude, whatever. And so he invites me to come to this media event in Alliance, Ohio, but I'm going to be a student in the class, or I'm not going to teach the thing. So I was like, hell yeah, man, building, clearing, night vision shooting, I'm down. Hell yeah, you guys are going to pay to send me there? I'm in. And so I remember going there, and we're doing the stuff, but Barry Duke from Surefire, right, the vice president of suppressor sales, there was a point during this thing, see some of it was, here's the new products and shit like that. But I remember Barry getting up and he gave us a 2-hour presentation on suppressors and what they're doing and how they're designing them and what their intent is and all that kind of crap. And I remember sitting there, and we were using Surefire cans at the time already, so I was interested in what that was. But the biggest thing I took away was Barry is passionate, man. That dude is trying to build the best suppressor he can. And this is not just like, let's make money and put out, some fucking suppressor. That dude gives a fuck that those things work right. And whether you like Surefire cans or not is not the point of this. The point is sometimes I think people forget there are human beings behind the industry, and almost all of them are trying really goddamn hard to give you the best product they can, even if it falls flat on its face. It wasn't intentional, at least in my experience. They have tried very, very hard and put a lot of effort and try to put out a quality product, which is Yeah, I think sometimes we lose sight. That's easy to go, man, fuck that product or whatever the hell, or oh, it's the thing no one asked for, or that kind of shit. I'm like, man,
Somebody asked for it. Somebody somewhere asked for it.
The biggest thing I see is like something will come out and then, the whole internet is like, oh, well, that's stupid. That doesn't apply to me. It's like, well, that wasn't meant for you. That's not, there's somebody that requested that. They didn't make it just to make it, If it applies to you, cool. If not, just move on and, buy what.
Yeah.
what does apply to you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like coming out with different things, like not really brand specific, but like, why have another flashlight that comes out with CR123s? Well, you know what? There's some people that can get new batteries easier than they can charge something.
Yep.
Or Surefire coming out with like the AA, version of their Scout light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, oh, why are they coming out with AA's in 2020 or whatever year it was? It's like, well, okay, this is not, they're new. They're not
I
taking
can
away
always get AA's.
They're 100. What was it, like a 150 lumen? Their little handheld pin light that they came out with last year.
Yeah.
Everybody was complaining about. Like, if you don't want to buy it, then
Don't buy
it's
it.
cool. Don't buy it.
Yep. I had a dual fuel and I never put rechargeables in it because I'm too dumb to keep batteries charged. But I was getting free 123s by the caseload from the agency, so I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Chuck them in there.
Yeah. I almost never burned a 123 up. No, that son of a bitch has been in there for a couple of days. Fuck it, chuck it in the garbage and put a new one in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Got anything?
You keep looking at me.
I know, 'cause you're-
everything leaves my head.
You've been in the sun all day. You've been in the sun all day. We have made you weak. We put you in an office, Chris, and now you're done. I'm sorry. That is my fault. I am
Getting
sorry.
me like that. God damn it.
Too much AC.
Yeah, too much AC. Too much AC. He is weak.
Just take
now.
away his chair.
Yeah, I can do that. We can do that.
Okay, be that way. I'm going home.
This is a side note, and some of y'all might know that Chris is one of our customer service guys, but I don't know, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, we talked about, like, when are we going to hire Chris Floyd?
Yeah.
Like, when
We've
can...
been trying to for a little while. We
Yeah.
finally got him into.
Yeah, finally got him. So, thanks.
I didn't even know that. When did that happen?
April.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Congrats on the new job, man.
Yeah, I dipped out of the suppressor company, and I was actually out here shooting the Big Tex 3-gun match. I was ROing. Chris came out, and I was like, hey, man, you guys got anything going on? And he was like, not right now. Like a week later, he calls me. He's like, hey, bro, I got something for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't fucking care. I'll take it. I'm tired of this shit. And like, I think I started randomly. I started on 420.
How's the boss? How's the boss at the company? Pretty good.
Oh man, he's a slave driver. I tell you what, man.
Fucking asshole.
No, it's great.
He's horrible.
Like, first company, like, the gun industry is kind of weird. Like, there's not a whole lot of like goodness in it. Let's just put it that way. If you got bad bosses.
Yeah.
And I've run through a couple. But like, when you get into a good company and you get good people and you like the environment and like everything just works good, it's fucking great.
It's weird. That's pretty much every job in every industry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good people.
Yeah.
Good people.
I think those companies thrive, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They end up thriving.
Yeah.
What's to do with Big Tex, man? I haven't talked to you in person in a long time.
Yeah, I know. It's been a couple of years.
Yeah. All good?
Yeah,
We're good.
We're cruising right along, trying to stay busy.
Yep. It's
I was wondering if you even shot anymore, to be honest with you. I was wondering if the company had grown so big and you were so busy if you ever even got a chance to put a gun in your hands anymore. So
Man,
nice
you
to
know
see
he's
that
got bodyguards and shit now.
shit. Damn.
He goes around, rolling around with 18
you know what I thought about? You have your own personal pilot. We don't have a plane.
Oh, yeah.
But
We
you do have a pilot.
Yeah.
Justin's got a pilot. One of our warehouse guys he's a licensed pilot.
That's super cool.
got
I
your
just
own.
need a private jet.
Yeah,
and
you
we're
get a plane,
good.
yeah.
We're good.
We can't get that yet right now.
Not yet.
So it's no.
We're gonna have to sell
It's a no.
a couple 100,000 more lights. or
Yeah,
something.
we'll have to sell some more lights. It's good. We're doing really good. We're doing really good. And today, he did get a shoot.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I was
what-
shooting out there with Alex Hartman.
Yeah,
advanced
Ridgeline.
SPR.
Super good dude, man.
Yep. Oh yeah,
Super
really,
good guy.
really good instructor. Very knowledgeable. Very, very capable, and does a really good job of conveying information. So, took a 5.56 out to 600. We were working 600 and in through the class, but He only had 8 hours. I wish I had a week to spend with him. But yeah, very, very, very good class. I
Well-
think I'm going to make a trip to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You let me know. I was talking to Jordan Reagan.
Oh yeah.
What was it? He says they were running a class. It was going to be a 3-day. It was going to be, I think he said it was Dan Brokos, him, and Jared Reston.
Oh, wow.
I have to ask him again.
We have multiple reasons to go to New Hampshire.
It was
Yeah,
going to be a
we do.
3-day up there at Ridgeline.
Man, that's a whole bundle of knowledge in one class right there. Holy
I was
smokes.
like, I'm down for that. You let me know, bro.
Yeah.
I will figure a way,
Yeah,
even if I have to walk.
there's multiple reasons we need to go to New Hampshire, for sure.
syrup.
Yeah.
Syrup. Yeah.
It's almost Canada.
I have a syrup connection up there actually.
Yeah, we do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You gonna start offering that?
Yeah, Big Tech syrup. Maple syrup.
We can brand anything.
Yeah.
What was that? Never mind.
Syrup suppressors and
Lasers.
yeah, lasers and shit.
This is exactly why we started the podcast. This is, and I say it every podcast that we sit down and talk, is we a couple months ago, Steve Fisher came through, and we stood in the warehouse for an hour and a half,
Yeah.
2 hours talking. Fantastic, wealth of knowledge, all this stuff. And then once it was over, it was like, well,
Bye.
I wish we would have recorded that. Because then,
Shared
I
it
thought
with
you
the
meant you
world.
were recording.
no,
No,
we
no,
didn't.
no.
We were just hanging out. and
Yeah, just
it doesn't happen. But this podcast has allowed us to sit down, and I've ran into you a couple times, but never actually sat down and talked to you. And Chris, and you gotta hang out for a little while. For our listeners and viewers out there, where can they find you?
So I'm on Facebook. The tap-rack tactical, or is it, Facebook, or is it tap-rack tactical? That page got jacked though, and so my Instagram page posts to that page. But if you send me a message on the tap rack, I can't see it, and I can't edit anything on it anymore. I can put a comment in it. So don't send messages to that. Send it to the Bill Blowers page, like Flowers of the Bee, and then on Instagram I'm tap-rack tactical, all one word. So if you're on that, follow me, and then you can message me on that stuff, or go to the website tap-rack.com, and there's a button for the email, or you can a phone number you can give me a call to. If you
And that's where they sign up for classes at as well.
So I think I'm a bit archaic. I talked to Nancy Stevens at Tough Products. She's a real nice lady, and she said, "Why do you do it the way you do?" Which is, I require people to email, and then we send you the registration, you kick it back, all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of a monotonous process. And partly because initially, in some cases, I got to vet you, right? So if it's a law enforcement class, as an example, and they don't want citizens on their range, then I got to make sure you're law enforcement. Right. As a hostage rescue class, while it may be interesting, it's probably not a class you guys need to attend, because you don't have a SWAT team, and you may not get called out to a hostage rescue, that type of shit. And so that's generally restricted to law enforcement, not because the information's top secret, just because that's who the hell needs to come to the class, right? Yeah. But I had a nuclear fucking engineer show up to that class, and he hit me up, and he was like, "Oh, I work for this police department." That's what he said. So I was like, he said, "I'm a reserve officer. I'm like, can I come?" And I said, "Law enforcement's law enforcement. They don't care. So yeah, come on." So he shows up, but he's actually a nuclear engineer, and then I find out he isn't really a reserve officer. Their range is partly owned. The citizens help pay for it, and part of the passing of that bond, we included that the range would be open for citizens to use a certain amount of days per year, right? The rest of the time, law enforcement. And so he was an RO on the citizen side at that range, but he convoluted anyway. So he shows the fuck up, and he was a goat rodeo, man. I was like, what the fuck? But I kept, are you a cop? You know what I mean? And he would hit me with some wild roundabout answer, and then he'd go into nuclear shit. And by the end of it, my brain was like, what the fuck just happened? And I realized he never actually answered the question. I didn't find out till the last day of the class, and I was like, what the fuck, man? So you must email me, because sometimes I have to vet you. I know there's a way to do it now. Nancy Stevens said you can make that happen with electronic signups and that, but I'm fucking old, man, so that's how you got to do it. Call me, send me an email, and we'll get you signed up.
We need nuclear pocket sand.
yeah.
Pocket sand.
The glowing goodness.
Bill, dude, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks,
for
man.
coming on.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah,
I
hanging
got a big
out.
audience, so it's nice to get some exposure. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Anytime you need anything like that, just hit us up. All right.
I got a question.
Oh, we got a question.
When are your next classes that people can sign up for, LE or civilian?
So I think Mark Smith and I have become friends. He attended a class I taught in South Carolina, and then we became buddies. And said Mark's a GM, runs his own company, JBS Training.
Yep.
And so Mark, we are doing some joint classes, but Mark's handling the registration. I think there is some space in the class in Reesville that is next weekend still. Mm-hmm. So if guys want to jump on that, maybe 2 spots left, something like that. And then after that, I am doing... top of my head, I know I'm coming back to Abilene. I'm doing a hostage rescue class for those guys, and then a SHIELD class. The SHIELD class, anybody can sign up for. The hostage rescue class was just for their team. Mark and I are teaming up again. I think it's here in Texas.
Yeah, it's the one in Dallas.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
ETTS.
December. Yeah, it's at ETTS.
Yeah, so we're doing that one, and maybe that's the one that's got a couple openings in it. And off the top of my head, I think the rest might be law enforcement for the rest of the year, law enforcement only, but they're open. I don't think I have any more closed classes for anybody type of thing. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing those schedules come out and sign up. And I talked to Mark quite a bit, so
Dude.
We'll get y'all squared away on some extra exposure for sure.
Cool.
Really
Well,
appreciate it.
I'll see you in Dallas.
Oh, right on, man. Right on.
I told you last time you were in Dallas, I'll never see you in Dallas again.
He lied.
Well, shit, he was like, "Oh, I'm retiring at the end of the year," and I was like, "Motherfucker, I'm gonna get that goddamn tiger patch before you leave."
Nice.
Have you 3 out of 4'd it yet?
I have.
Did you get 3 out of 4?
Yeah.
Was I giving away the baby tigers
I
then?
did it before you
that
did
was-
the baby tiger.
Oh.
I did it a long time
Yeah,
ago.
this was I think that Symposium class.
Maybe. I don't remember.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
because you only started the baby tiger like 2.
Maybe 2, 3. Nancy Stevens, who makes the Nuke Tiger patch, she is a big supporter of the Second Amendment and shooters and has a shooting team and the whole
She
bit
does
for
our
the
patches.
Yeah. And so she wanted to host me down in Escondido, right? And she's done that several times now. Really nice lady. But she gets to me, she goes, "Man, nobody's winning that patch." And it's like my favorite patch. So I want to make a patch for everybody in the class. And I said, "You can do whatever the hell you want, Nancy, but that ain't associated with me and my incredibly hard standards, for Christ's sake." So she's like, "Okay, whatever." So she makes it's a baby tiger cub, and he's holding a big ass grenade, and he's got a little tear coming out of his eye because he's so sad he didn't pass the standard. So that patch is hilarious, and I've given away a lot of those. I mean, yeah, you guys have shot them. The standards themselves aren't hard, but it is the consistency
Putting
of
it
doing the
together.
4
Stacking
in a
all
row.
3.
Yeah.
Or all
Really.
4 rather.
Yeah,
Oh.
with 15, 20 dudes watching you,
Stare at-
Yeah.
yeah.
plus him standing by you with the timer.
Yep.
It's
Don't fuck it up.
Yep.
I
Don't
ain't
fuck it
worried
up.
about him standing over my shoulder with the timer. It gives me the power. But goddamn it, everybody else looking at me like, "Oh, you're gonna do so great." Then you're like, "Oh fuck."
The weird thing is you shoot at whatever the standards I pull out of my butt for that because they change all the time. But whatever 4 I pull out of the hat, I use those drills as part of the class train up, right? So you have passed every one of those drills in class, and then trying to do it 4 in a row though is what gets people. And I tell people all the time, hell, when I randomly pull them and I'm see if I can pass my own, I fail them sons of bitches quite often because it's just difficult to put them all together. I mean, hell, one of them, we shot one of them today in the class, and end of the day, I was tired, right? But I failed. I shot it, and I was like, okay, didn't make my own standard, but that's exactly what I want a standard to be, man. It should be difficult to achieve. Otherwise, it's just bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
And for those viewers, listeners, and everything, I hope y'all really got something out of this. We definitely passed some knowledge on to you. And what we need you to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. If you want to see more of this type of content from Big Tex, let us know about it in the comments on YouTube. And thank you very much for tuning in.